Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to share with you guys all the books that I read in 2022. Was this my best reading year? No. But I still have quite a bit of books. I have 54 books to share with you guys. I'm just going to quickly go through them in order that I read them and tell you whether I like them or not. But I also did want to say that even though this wasn't my best reading year, I learned a lot through it. There was a lot of growth in my reading journey this year. My opinion on some of these books have changed, and I think I just learned a lot about the kind of books I like to read, the kind of books I personally feel like I don't need to be reading or shouldn't be reading. And this is in no way to tell you what you should be reading, what you shouldn't be reading. Also, just a warning to look up any trigger warnings and stuff for any of the books that I do mention. If you guys would like me to talk more about my book reading journey and just what I've learned and just kind of my opinions on things, definitely let me know, because I definitely never really cared what I would read. Pretty much would read whatever. Didn't care what was in it. Spice, no spice, intense, non-intense, clean, whatever was there I would read. And it was just mostly because I liked reading. I loved getting brought into the story. Just figured I'd warn you guys about that. But my reading has changed. I'm definitely going on a more clean book journey. Doesn't mean I'm going to get there right away. No. There are some authors that I like that don't specifically write clean books, but I still want to read their writing because I really enjoy it. So it's just a work in progress, but I wanted to share with you guys all the books that I did read. Popping in here because I forgot to say something. Definitely sharing the books that I want to read has been a huge part of my accountability to reading more clean books and just God's conviction in my life. So I wanted to share that because this is a big reason of why I switched my reading style, just because I was feeling convicted and I was maybe I shouldn't be reading, because I hadn't read in a while, but I started reading again at the end of 2021 because I discovered BookTube. I had been following someone that does BookTube, but I didn't realize it was a thing. And I just realized, if I'm sharing things online and I'm truly striving for a life that honors God, I really needed to change the books that I read. Let's get through it. So I read 54 books. Oh, I had a sticky note. So I had a sticky note with some of my stats. So I read 54 books, 2 manga, 1 audio, 39 physical books, 14 ebooks, 5 books that were faith or Christian growth books, 46 that were personal, just for me to read books. I read 2 complete series or trilogies, and I found a lot of new authors that I enjoy. I also learned that I don't like audiobooks at all. I try to put this in order. Alright, so for the first book I read was The Negotiator by Dee Henderson. I love Dee Henderson. You will hear her come up quite a bit, but this is part of the O'Malley series. This is book 1. Loved it. Years ago I read the prequel, and then I bought this book years ago, then just never read. So I read this one and then started reading the rest of the series. So there's this. The second book I read was Liberated Through Submission by P.B. Wilson, and another great book, a book I talk about all the time. If you're struggling in your faith or with understanding biblical submission, which is for everyone, definitely read this book. It's a great one. Next, I read manga series, and I read 2 of the books, or 2 of the volumes, and this is My Hero Academia, and this is volume 1. The next book I read was The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Amaras, and I really enjoyed this book. This was not a clean book. That's something I want to work on in the new year, is learning all these terminologies, so that way when I talk to you guys about books, I can explain it better and maybe come up with some sort of spice rating, whether a book's clean, closed door, things like that. But this is an author I would read from again. I just loved her writing. I love the storyline. I love the fake dating trope. So I really enjoy this. I read the second volume to My Hero Academia. I read Redeeming Love. This book does I don't know if it has trigger warnings, but I think it should have trigger warnings. My opinion on this book has changed a lot. I really enjoyed it when I first read it, and the more that I think about it, the more I wouldn't even consider this a clean romance. I do have a whole video like reviewing this book and doing a reading vlog, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave that link down below. But my thoughts have changed. If you guys would like an update, let me know. I am down to reread and give you guys an update of my thoughts, but I would not consider this a clean romance. The Twin by Natasha, what's her last name because it's covered, Preston. This is like a very much like a Lifetime mystery book. It's definitely YA. It's about a girl whose twin just starts doing some crazy stuff, and I was not expecting the ending. I was actually very like, oh my goodness, like I can't believe that's how it ended. But this is YA, but I really did enjoy this like thriller suspense book. This was a pretty good read if you're looking for a less like intense thriller. This one's not a bad one. I do have some books that I read in the beginning of the year. So I read 2 books by Katie McAllister, and they were called You Slay Me and Fire Me Up. And I did not finish reading that series just because this is a reread for me. So it was Liberated through submission. But these were a reread for me from years ago, and I never realized how much, like, after the first book, the plot, like in the first book, the plot was fine. There is spice, like it's definitely an adult romance fantasy type of read, but in the second book I felt like the spice was taking over the plot, and I just had a feeling that's how it was going to go for the rest of the series. I honestly barely remembered the series, but yeah, I was very disappointed in that, so I just stopped reading, because that's one thing I don't like, is when the plot gets lost because there's just so much spice content. We don't need it. And then I also read Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey, which I really enjoyed it, but I just realized I don't enjoy audiobooks. It was just weird having the narrator like almost like try and change their voice for when people were talking, girl, guy. It was just weird. The next book I read was A Mail Order Heart by Janelle Daniels. It was an alright book, like it's nothing crazy. I just needed something quick to read. I truly don't remember too much about it. Like thinking of it and looking at the cover, things start popping up, but not much to say about that. Unspoken by Dee Henderson. Once again, I love Dee Henderson. These are her standalone series, which actually like overlap with each other. So characters are consistent throughout all her standalones, but they're super thick. They are slow paced because there's a lot of character development, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know, I just felt like sucked into the world. It's very realistic. I don't know, it's just like nothing crazy is happening for the most part, so I just really enjoyed it. The next book is No Ex Before Marriage by Portia McIntosh. I actually DNF'd one of her books later on. They're alright, they're just really long and wordy. And this one wasn't bad. It just wasn't my favorite. It just missed the mark. The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I really, really enjoy her book. It's one of those books where I wish I could reread it again for the first time. I did do a video of my top books of 2022, and I did not put this book on it. It's a book that I think about all the time and I think about rereading. I will say, with some of these newer like secular authors, I've noticed that you know what they stand for, like their political views, all those things, social views, everything, because they put a lot of it in their writing. So that's just a warning there, but I really did enjoy this book. When Broken Roads Lead Home by T.K. Chapin. I did not like this book. It felt like 2 books smushed in one. Just a lot of weird things. I did not enjoy it. I felt like, I don't know, there was a little bit of toxicness in the end. I just felt like everything that like she built in the beginning, like their character developments, well, it didn't line up with how the books started, and then they had all this growth, and then she just kind of like crumbled it. No. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, I don't know, but this is an excellent book. Read it in one day, less than a day, in a few hours. It was excellent. Didn't see the twist at the end. If you are looking for a thriller, definitely pick this one up. It is not clean, but you can just skip over all that stuff. There's not too much of it in here, but it is great. You will not see the twist coming. I did not see it coming, and it's one of those books I wish I could reread again without knowing what I knew. But I do want to read to see what everything that I missed, because like, great book. The Girl Behind the Red Rope by Ted and Rachel Decker. They are Christian authors. I did not like the book. I felt like it's very confusing. If you are a new believer, I feel like this book would lead you astray, because it was just very like, it's just an odd thing for, I feel like, someone of faith to be writing, because it kind of seemed like this is more something someone would write if they were hurt by church and not like still living in their faith. I don't know, it was just very confusing. It was very odd. I did not enjoy it. Did I finish it? Yes. Why? I don't know. I should have DNF'd it. I know. The next book I read was Love at First Fight. Don't remember any of it. I think it was fine. I put great book, kind of felt like 2 stories, but in a good way. Like a book 1 and 2. Okay, now I'm kind of remembering it. So it kind of felt like 2 books in one, kind of like a first book with 2 main characters, then a second book with the character from the first book. It was just odd. I felt like it could have been broken up, but whatever. The next book is this trilogy. This is the Song of Seer trilogy by Carla Loreno, and this is an amazing trilogy. It is faith-based. It is amazing. I talk more about it in my top books of 2022. This was an excellent series. One I will for sure reread again. I really wish she would write more. I wish she would have continued the series. Expand the world. Like, I loved it. It was a great book. The books are falling. Oh my gosh. The next series that I read was the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. This was also another really good series. It's YA fantasy, subplot of romance. It was really good. Enemies to lovers. It was just a really good read. I read it pretty quickly, and I truly did enjoy it. So you have The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing. The second book was my favorite. And yeah, same thing with the other series. The second book was my favorite. The next book is When People Are Big and God Is Small by Edward T. Welch. I feel like I talked about this book in a few of my videos as I was reading it, because it took me a while to read. There are some like annotations. I thought it was really good. It's a slow read. Well, it was a slow read for me. There's a lot in here. It gets you thinking about things that you didn't realize you were struggling with, especially with peer pressure, people pleasing, things like that. So that was a really good read. The next book that I read is The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren, 2 authors. I really enjoy her writing. She is not these are not clean books. Really, really enjoy her as an author. And because of that, I read The Unhoneymooners. Really enjoyed this one too. I really do love her writing and love their writing, because it's 2 people. And their storytelling, the books just always grip me, and I don't want to put them down. The Temporary Roomie is by Sarah Adams. She does write clean romance. This one was okay. I felt like the dialogue is the only thing that really got me with this book. Is I felt it seemed a little young for them being grown adults. Like, that was my only thing about this book. But the actual storylines and the story was good. Another book was Wait for It by Jen McKinley. This was a really good book. There was a lot of character development. I feel like the character development was more the focus than the actual story was, but I really enjoyed it. Love at First Bite by Anna Collins. Cute read. I want to say it was a clean read, and if it wasn't a clean read, maybe closed door. Can't remember fully, but it was good. I just felt like a little childish at times. It was definitely like they're doing pranks and stuff on her ex. It was alright. I just felt like a little childish at times. I'm getting tired of talking. My battery's dying. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Read this book. Loved it. Loved her writing. Not clean. I'm happy I read this one first, because I also bought Beach Read, and I really liked this one, and I think if I would have read Beach Read first, I probably wouldn't have read this one. But I really loved it. So, I'm excited for her next book coming out this year. The next book I read was Pray Confidently and Consistently by Valerie Warner. Another great faith book if you are struggling, not just with prayer, but with really anything. She touches on a lot of things, and I just thought it was great. Tons of annotating and highlighting and underlining, and just like things that I want to remember and turn back to. Super easy read, pretty short chapters, and I just thought it was well done. Next is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This one was a lot slower than Book Lovers. And I definitely felt like this one had a little bit more like spice content to it. Maybe because it was like more throughout. But it wasn't bad. I just felt like it was a lot more slow paced. It was a lot more on the character developments versus the plot. But good nonetheless. The next book I read was Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson. Really good book, clean. This one's actually my favorite from her. I've read a few this year from her, and she is a Christian author, so there are clean books. Her books aren't like Christian romance, but clean romance. The next book I read is The Do-Over by Bethany Turner. Really enjoyed this book. I really connected with this character. Just really enjoyed it. Both these books actually made me laugh, but I really did enjoy it, and I want to pick up more books from her. She is also a Christian author that writes a clean romance. Not necessarily Christian romance, but clean romance. Love on the Brain by Allie Hazelwood. Another great read. I, once again, really enjoy her writing style. They're not clean, and I really did enjoy it. The next book I read was Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This one, for me, was not my favorite from them. It was definitely a slower read, and I just didn't really... The way it unfolded was great, because I think... And I wasn't expecting, like, everything that you find out at the end. I just... Maybe because I didn't really like... There's just certain things that you find out at the end, and I'm like, I really don't like the character anymore. I just felt like there was a lot of things I didn't like about the character, so it was harder for me to really enjoy the books. To enjoy the book, and I just think it went by slower, probably because I didn't really enjoy the characters. But the revelation at the end, I didn't see it coming, so it was really good. The next book I read is Seeing Christ in Hebrews by Stephen Kong. And it's just a super short book. It's an overview of the book of Hebrews and how Christ is our high priest and our apostle and high priest. So it was a pretty good one. It was a really quick read. I don't know why it took me so long to read it. It should have taken me like 30 minutes. The next book I read was The Henderson Taken, another standalone, huge one. You see characters from both the standalones, and it's really good. It is such a slow read. The character build up, like as you get to know them, is what really keeps you hooked in these books, because there's not like tons of stuff going on. But this one was really good. The next book I read was also by Dee Henderson, and it is the second book to her O'Malley series, which is The Guardian, which is a series about siblings that came together in a group home. So this is one of the brothers. It was a great book. The next book I read is also Dee Henderson, and it is The Truth Seeker, third book in the O'Malley series. I think this one I would say is one of my favorites. Really good. There was just a lot going on, and you get to know each of the siblings in like each of the books, so it's like building on top of what you already know about them. But I really did enjoy this one. The next book I read is The Cul-de-sac Wars by Melissa Ferguson. This one was good. Clean romance. It's kind of like a enemies to lovers type thing. Really cute. The next book I read is on my Kindle, and it was The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. It was a very cute YA romance about a girl that keeps reliving the same day. I really enjoyed how the story unfolded, just like how everything happened. I really liked it, and for it being YA and actually catching my attention, I say good job. So the next book I read was See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and that was also on my Kindle, and I did enjoy that one too. It's another like repeating day book, and I thought it was good. I thought it was a little drawn out. Probably could have cut like 50 pages, but it was good. That one was not clean. What we call it? Clean? Closed door. That was more like a closed door romance. The next book I read was The Perfect Marriage by Gennaro. Did I write this name wrong? Gennaro Rose. I was really enjoying it, trying to figure out who did it. Then once you get the revelation, you're like, oh, alright. I don't know. I just feel like you get all this stuff, and as everything's crazy it's going on, and then just kind of like flatlines. So I felt like the ending was lacking for me a lot. When you figure out like what is actually happening, I just feel like. Then the next book I read was Evidence of the Affair by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I really enjoyed it. It's written in all letter forms, different than anything I've read, and I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it and enjoyed her writing. And it was under 100 pages. It was a super short read. Made According to Patterns by C.W. Slemming. This is a really good read if you want to learn more about the tabernacle that is discussed in Exodus and like Leviticus, Numbers, like I don't know, that section of the Bible. It was really good, very informative, and it's easy to read. Looking at the cover, you don't think that, but it is. It was a very good book. I highly enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Then I read The Protector by D. Henderson. This is also another one of my favorites from the series, the O'Malley series. It's a different sibling. I felt like this one was a little different, so I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I love D. Henderson if you haven't realized it. So a lot more of her this year too. On my Kindle, I read Let It Snow by Beth Moran. Oh, that one was it was like a Christmas read. It was clean. And yeah, I felt like the beginning was a little slow, but then once it picked up, it was fine. Just a cute, like, little Christmassy winter read. The next book I read was Resting Scrooge Face by Megan Quinn. It was a very short read, under 100 pages, slightly in letter form, and I thought it was cute. Not what I was expecting. I was expecting like a normal size book, but I didn't realize it was like a short, like novel type thing. Another Christmassy read, very cute, a little cheesy, but not bad. And it was clean. So there's another one. Say You're Sorry by Melinda Lee. This was like a thriller mystery book. It was pretty good, and I guess it's like a series, so like you follow this main character as she like uncovers other things. The only thing I was upset about is like I figured out who it was, but like the way you find out and like how it all happens, I felt like it could have been so much better. Like it wasn't terrible, but I just felt like it was lacking. But then there's like something else that you need to figure out too, so like it made up for it. And then the last book I read of the year is The Dating Charade by Melissa Ferguson. Very cute read, clean romance. Really enjoyed this book too, and it was interesting how it was going because I was getting frustrated as I was reading because I'm like, oh, I want them to like figure it out and like get it together. But you know, it all works out in the end. Those are all the books that I read this year. I feel like I've been talking forever. I have a mess of books here now that I have to clean. Books on the floor, books on my chair. Like, it is a wild time. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't know why the light is so harsh. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, I have a lot more book content coming for the beginning of this month. Showing you guys how I'm going to set up my 2023 reading journal, sharing with you guys my reading goals and anything else you guys want to see. So if you guys would like to see more book videos, definitely give this video a thumbs up so I know you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next one.